bienvenue dans cette nouvelle leçon de Fluent French. Hello and welcome. I hope all of you are doing well. I wanted to do this video for a very long time. Since you all know that it's not very long back that I started this YouTube channel and I was trying to cover all the A1, A2 topics. But today I will be talking to you about a topic which is actually of B1 level. Imparfait as a tense. We teach in A1, A2 level as well, but I have seen and observed as a lecturer, as a professor, that many students, even until B1 level or after completing B1 level, are not clear about this tense. Okay, so I'll be telling you everything about the formation. So there are three things that I'll be covering for you all today. Formation de l'imparfait. How do we form the tense? Utilisation. How are we going to use it? Because that's more important for any verb, for any word for that matter, and in grammar. First thing is to understand what that is, and the second thing is to be able to use it correctly. So it is very simple how to conjugate in imparfait, but where to use it, where not to use it is more crucial. So I'll be taking care of that, and then we will do a quick comparison between imparfait and passé composé, focusing on the utilization, usage of both the tenses, because that's where all my students have seen get confused. Alright, so let's start. C'est parti. Ok, so first of all, tout d'abord, on va parler de la formation. Comment conjuguer un verbe à l'imparfait? How to conjugate a verb in imparfait? Okay, so it's very simple. I've written it all here. First of all, we conjugate the verb to present tense and we take the conjugation with nous. Prendre la conjugaison de nous, première personne du pluriel, nous, au présent. Donc on prend ça et après on enlève ONS. We remove ONS and we add these terminaisons, these endings. Okay, how do we do it? For example, parler is the verb and what is the conjugation with nous? It is parlons. So we removed ONS and we added these. And this is what we get at je parlais, tu parlais, il parlait, nous parlions, vous parliez, il parlait. Now, for those who don't know the significance of imparfait, imparfait can be considered as equivalent of past continuous. I was doing something, I was saying something. Okay, but the use of imparfait is much more than that, but basically it's past continuous tense. Je parlais, I was speaking, you were speaking, he was speaking, she was speaking, so on and so forth. Here is a list of, I am not going to go through all of this because it is just to show you that how all these verbs and many other verbs can be conjugated by just using these terminaisons. There are of course exceptions, and I have noted one exception here, which is être, which does not really follow the entire thing. Était, j'étais, être is to be. J'étais, tu étais, il était, nous étions, vous étiez, ils étaient. I was, you were, he was, she was, so on and so forth. Now I come to the main part. Conjugating is simple. You can find the conjugations anywhere. The main part is to know where all we use imparfait. So I have listed down 5 situations where you use imparfait. So the first one is une habitude au passé. Une habitude au passé, a past habit. Something that you used to do, and you'll use imparfait in French for that. For example, pay attention to the meaning because I have not written the English meaning. Chaque jour, je rendais visite à ma grand-mère. Chaque jour, je rendais visite à ma grand-mère. Every day I used to, you can translate it like that, I was visiting my grandmother. I used to visit my grandmother. So it was a habit. He used to do it every day. That's why we are using imparfait here. Je prenais des cours de piano tous les mardis. Je prenais des cours de piano tous les mardis. I used to take piano classes every Wednesday. Je prenais des cours de piano tous les mardis. Donc, c'est quoi la première utilisation d'imparfait? D'une habitude au passé. Quand on évoque une habitude au passé, on utilise l'imparfait, a past habit. What is the second one? The second one is évoquer des souvenirs d'enfance. And we are talking about our, when we were a child, we're talking about our childhood days, and we are talking about some memory of that phase. We use imparfait. Quand j'étais petit, je parlais peu et jamais écouté les j'aimais écouter les histoires que me racontait mon grand-père. So you can see 3 verbs have been conjugated to in imparfait. Quand j'étais petit, for était. Quand j'étais petit, when I was small, je parlais peu. I didn't speak much, so I used to speak less. J'aimais écouter. I used to love listening to the stories that my grandfather used to tell me. Raconter des histoires is to tell stories. Quand j'étais petit, je parlais peu et j'aimais écouter les histoires que me racontait mon grand-père. Enfant, when I was a child, j'allais souvent voir ma tante à Marseille. I used to go visit my aunt in Marseille. After this, there are certain expressions. After them, we use imparfait. I put 2 here, pendant que and avant. Pendant que. Let's see how it is used. Quelqu'un est venu pendant que je dormais. So while I was sleeping, somebody came. You also see, which I'll be covering later on, the difference in the usage of imparfait and passé composé here. This is passé composé and this is imparfait. I'll be covering this towards the end of the video, the difference between imparfait and passé composé, when to use which one. Okay. So in this one, I simply want you to understand that when you are using pendant que, which can be translated as while or during, you use imparfait. Quelqu'un est venu pendant que je dormais. While I was sleeping, somebody arrived or somebody came. Nous avons terminé le travail pendant que vous étiez en vacances. So we finished the work while you were on vacation. Nous avons terminé le travail pendant que vous étiez en vacances. Avant, je sortais tous les soirs. Earlier, I used to step out. I used to go out every evening. Okay, what is the fourth use? Pour faire une proposition, to give someone some suggestion and ask, okay, can we do this? Could we do that? Like in English also we say. Et si on allait au cinéma aujourd'hui? I won't do the literal translation here, but it means that how about going to a movie today? Et si on allait au cinéma? So you're asking someone, you're proposing, you're giving some idea about doing something, and you're asking someone, you're proposing, you're putting a proposition in front of them. Et si on allait au cinéma aujourd'hui? Formule de politesse. Imparfait, mainly for polite usage. It's conditionnel, which is used, but sometimes we use imparfait also. See in these examples. Je voulais vous demander du bien vouloir. It's extremely formal way of requesting something of someone. Je voulais vous demander du bien vouloir donner votre extrait de naissance. Par exemple, I request you to please give me your birth certificate. Je voulais vous demander de bien vouloir donner-moi ou montrer votre extrait de naissance. Deuxièmement, nous souhaitons savoir si. So you go somewhere and you're asking for some information. Nous souhaitons savoir, so you want to or you wish to know something. So you're asking for some information and you're using imparfait. Don't get confused, you can use conditionnel also, but imparfait is also used. Okay. Now, okay, this is just to show you that this is how passé composé is conjugated and this is how imparfait is conjugated. This I'm sure you know if you're at a B1 level. This is passé composé, this is imparfait. Yes, now we will compare the two, le passé composé et l'imparfait. So the first difference is of complete versus incomplete actions. We used imparfait for incomplete actions in the past and we use passé composé for actions that were completed in past. Let me give you an example. J'étais à l'école. Now this sentence simply says that I was in school. Now it doesn't say for how long and what happened and nothing. So it is an incomplete, it doesn't have an end. Okay, so the duration is not defined. So we will use imparfait. J'étais à l'école. In the second sentence, je suis arrivé tôt à l'école. I arrived or I reached early to the school. So this is about a specific instance where someone reached school early. So it started and ended the action, the activity. So we are using passé composé. Uncounted versus counted. Now what does that mean? Look at these two sentences. J'étudiais le lundi. J'ai étudié lundi. J'étudiais le lundi is that I used to study every Monday. So it's like an ongoing action where you don't have a specific count. J'ai étudié le lundi, which means that you're talking about a specific Monday on which you studied. So when there is something specified and countable, you'll use passé composé, and when it's something more generalized and uncountable, you'll use imparfait. Ongoing versus new. Let me tell you what this means. J'aimais l'école. I used to love school. So it is like in general an observation or a sentiment that is being expressed. Now the second sentence. À ce moment, j'ai détesté l'école. At that particular moment, I hated the school. It's not I used to hate the school. I hated the school at that very specific moment. Again, it's specific versus general. Background plus event. We saw a similar example in the previous slide. What is happening here? Let's see. J'étais à l'école quand il a commencé à pleuvoir. So this is just to add these two sentences. There is nothing in between. It's not a blank. It's just adding it. J'étais à l'école quand il a commencé à pleuvoir. So it started raining when I was at school. So something was happening when something else happened. So when that first background event that was happening comes in imparfait, and something that happened after that or during that will come in passé composé. For example, the next sentence. J'essayais d'étudier, mais mon ami m'a posé une question. So, what is a background event here? That he was trying to study, but his friend asked a question. So, that's what interrupted the studies maybe. J'essayais d'étudier, mais mon ami m'a posé une question. I was trying to study, but my friend asked me a question. So, I hope that's clear for you all now. And the more you practice, do a couple of exercises and it will be clearer. Even I used to get confused in the beginning, and then with practice it all started coming naturally. I hope you loved this lesson, and if you did, please leave me a comment, subscribe to my channel, and I'll be happy to answer all your questions that you may have. Till then, you be safe.